Hello, this is National Chess Master R. Rats at chess.com, here analyzing a game that Nimzomation submitted for the member best game thread, and it's a very interesting miniature game. I don't know the time control it was played under. He didn't give it. I don't think it was a turn-based. I suspect maybe it's a game 15 or game 30. Not the best games to play because you really don't have time to go into any kind of deep analysis and proper selection of candidate moves. You do those at your local club, or arrange games, long time control games in the thread that I have posted in the forums. Look at the players on there, put your own information on, contact them, play a nice 90-30 game. Get your feet wet, okay? Talking to you, all of you. It's free here at chess.com to play that way, or you can go down to your local club, find one, play there. Okay, let's have a look at this game. He says it's a King's Indian attack and not much happens. Well, Black is just basically playing kind of silly here. His moves don't really help his development, but what can I say? Players at this rating level don't really have a strategy. We're out of the book. Okay, there's no opening theory on this. Oh, I'm sure somebody's had this position before, but what can we say about this? What's White trying to do? What's Black trying to do? Okay, White's just following my recommendation, the King's Indian attack. You play these, start with these first four moves, and then continue with another pattern. And White does continue with the pattern, but you always have to watch what your opponent's doing. Here, Black is saying, I want to attack your king. And what's the best way to meet a wing attack? You play in the center, okay? You play in the center. So the Black position is kind of exposed already. That bishop on c5 is ugly. Now, what White does, he follows my recommendation with d3, but if there's ever a time to get out of this, get out of the theory, this is the time. You play d4 right here. Why do you ask? Why do you go out of the line? Well, Black's not playing what he's supposed to be playing. He's not developing. He's just going for an attack. So you attack in the center. Gain a tempo. Okay? Black's got to stop and deal with his bishop. Where's he going to put it? Okay? Say he's going to put it on d6 like it ends up in the game. Bang. Another gain attempt. You're planning another tempo gain. White's planning to push e5 and chase that bishop again. Grabbing some space and making Black lose time while White gets all of his pieces out. So there's a time to break away from what I've recommended in the King's Indian attack and just wing it. And when you can start gaining space like this, go for it. There's nothing wrong with playing d3 as White does. Nothing in the world wrong with it. It's just that there's better. Gain tempos. Okay. So now here's Black's thing. He says, I don't care about the pawn. You can have the pawn. I've got an open file. Okay. Now, White's right to take it. But now, what's Black going to do? Now, he could sacrifice. This would be consistent with what he's trying to do. White has to be prepared for this, and that's one of the reasons why d4 would have been a good move, because you follow up with e4 and you're gonna get some of these nice tempos in, and you'll be shutting off the Black pieces from where they want to be. But let's just examine this. White should win against this, but his position is a little tricky. Okay. Okay. So this much is easy to see. Now, Black has two pieces developed. White's got one and he's castled, but White's got to get some more guys developed. Now, notice that White can't play d4 here. Okay. And if White's not careful, he's only got really two pieces he can get in the game: the bishop to d6 and this knight up to g4. So White's going to have to step a little careful here. Okay. The first and foremost thing that White needs to do now is develop. Okay. We need some help on the king side. Let's develop this knight. Okay. If you if you put the knight on c3, suddenly there's threats. Bishop d6. Now you got to watch the mate. Now you pretty much have to play f4. And as I say, now this knight comes into play in a hurry. Okay, how's White going to deal with this? Well, he's probably got resources, but suddenly White's game is difficult. So we want to make moves that maximize our time. We need to get this knight over here quick. Okay, now if Black tries this, White doesn't have to play f4. He can gain time on the queen with knight f3. Okay, see the difference that makes? Going for tempos. So let's suppose Black keeps his queen on the rook file. Let's say he drops it back. What's White do now? Well, he's got to get developed. Okay, these guys: queen on d1, bishop on c1, rook on a1, and these positions are easy to analyze as long as you play developing moves. White doesn't have. You don't want to stop and consider moves like a4 or b4 or b3, and you want to focus on simple developing moves. And at the same time, you want to stop Black cold in his tracks before he can do anything. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, one way is let's bring this bishop up to g5. Now, why do I want to play that move? Why would I want to play that move? Well, it's simple. I don't want your knight going to g4, and I don't want to make any weakening moves on my queen side. I'm ahead in development. I'm ahead in material. I'm going to trade off. If you try to bring another piece into the attack, I'm going to trade it. Now, Black has two options. He can play f6, and then the bishop just retreats. Now this knight cannot develop to f6, and if it develops to h6, we're just going to chop it off. Okay, so let's examine this line. f6, where you want to put the bishop. Here? Okay, fine. Now, Black has an option to put this knight on e7. Notice that these queenside pieces are not going to be able to help Black for a while. But now it's White's turn again. So we're going to get something else developed. Okay? Boom. Queen's developed. Now we want to play bishop f4 and trade something off. So Black plays preventative maintenance, knight g6. Now what's White do? Well, like I say, develop. What can we develop? Well, we can develop a rook. Let's see. How do I want to do this? Okay, let's develop a rook. Now notice that basically Black has spent his load. In other words, what's he going to do? If he tries knight h4, we'll try it. Here, I'll show you. Okay, now knight takes, queen takes. Now there's a mate threat, but now we're poised to deal with it. Now we can play f4. f4 is well guarded, and Black's attack is starting to run out of steam. So what's he try? g5? Well, we just laugh at him. Let's play rook f3. f4 is well covered. What can Black try? g4? Fine. Let's see. We can just we can put the rook on g3. Let's put it on f1. Now, Black's attack is spent. He's got to get, if he's going to attack anywhere, he's got to get the rest of his queen side in play. Quick. Okay? How's he going to do it? Well, let's get it started. Knight a7. What's White's turn? How about if I chase your queen out of there? Okay, queen back. Now I'm just going to put my bishop here. Okay, now let's get some more queens, some more pieces over. Okay, I'm gonna go stake out a share of the center. Now I'm gonna chase your bishop. Suppose he takes. Now I'm going to start counterattacking g4. So Black castles. And this is just a possible line. White's still up material. Black's attack is ground to a screeching halt. And White's going to win this. So it would have been thematic for black to have gone ahead and sacrificed, and then the outcome is in doubt. But you have to, if you play well, you can refute it. This is a way to refute it. White will eventually win that pawn on g4, I think, and basically black just doesn't have any kind of reasonable attack going. It's ground to complete halt. But that's kind of how you analyze a position like that. We just look for developing moves. And it's not the only line. There's probably improvements for both sides. But that's how you start. You start looking at these positions. Every position you say is, what can I do? What can I do? What can he do? What can he do? You know. But white had to be prepared for that possible outcome of taking on h4. And the better way to have prepared for it would have been to have limited black's options and kick that bishop with 5d4. Okay, so what black plays is bishop e7. Now he's threatening to win a pawn, but now his immediate attack. Whoops. His attack is over. So now white plays, I think, knight f3. Yeah, now white plays knight f3. Now basically, white has won a pawn. White's better. Black does have some compensation that he's got an open file for his rook. But we saw the queen, the knight, and the bishop weren't enough against the king because these guys were out of play. Black's going to have to get them all into play. Black's going to have to develop now. Okay? He's got to get those guys out quick if he's going to do any kind of an attack. Okay, so queen c7 may not be the best move, but it gets the queen out. And this is good. Now stake a share of the center. And now, next move by white is a mistake. Okay? It's a mistake for several reasons. Okay. When your opponent has any kind of an attack against your king, and black does have some kind of an attack against the king, although everything's well guarded, you don't want to weaken your king position under any circumstances. It's an unforced error. What white does here is a mistake that could have cost him severely. And I'll show it to you in just a moment. But what should white be thinking of? What's the number one rule? Develop. Always develop. Develop, develop, develop. So many good developing moves here. Okay? If we don't mind giving up the knight for the bishop, just to take an attacker off, we either have to accept double D pawns or take back with the queen. So queen e2 is perfectly good move here. Queen e2. It develops. Next step, develop the knight. The rooks are connected. Perfect. Okay? What else is possible here? Well, you can play knight d2. That's fine. Accept the double pawns if black wants them. Or you can play knight c3. That's a developing move. Any one of those three moves would have been fine. Instead, white plays a bad move. He blunders. And h3. Now, what's wrong with h3? Well, like I say, don't weaken your own king position. Now, what did that just weaken? It weakened the g3 square. Black can now win his pawn back. Okay, black missed, knight takes. And then simply queen takes. Black has regained his pawn, and his attack looks a little more menacing now. Now, white will have resources. White shouldn't lose this, but suddenly white's going to have to work. Okay, it's not easy like it was. White allowed this, and black missed it. Okay, so don't make unforced errors like this. Don't weaken your king side. Develop. Okay? Don't weaken your king position. I'll say it again. Always, always, always develop. Because once the pieces are out, the next deployment is coming. And when you're developed, you're ready to go to the next squares. So black missed it. Black just missed a clear win of a pawn. White allowed it, and black missed it. So what does black do? He puts his knight on e5. And, just not good. Examine things. Examine captures. Both sides. What kind? Those are forcing. They're fairly easy to calculate. So h3. You're basically saying, go ahead, take my bishop. Well, fine. You were willing to part with the bishop. Why not develop something and let him take it? Maybe because this knight's not doing anything on g4. It's not going to take on h2. Just develop. Okay. Got to drill it through your head. Okay. So bishop f4. This looks good. You've got a nice pin. Breaks the pin, but where's the black development? And here, black does miss a chance to double the white pawns. He should take here. Now you got to take back with the queen, or you're going to lose the pawn on f4. But this, I don't know. Let's just see. I guess we're willing to trade queens and kill the attack. But we got to be careful now. This f4 pawn is weak. See? So black kind of missed an opportunity here. This can get messy. Now suddenly we're a pawn up, but we have double pawns, and maybe we're not going to keep that pawn. Maybe we are. I don't know. It gets crazy. See? It's just one sample line. Of course, black will be taking it with either his rook or his bishop. So maybe we can't trade queens. Take with a pawn. Well, you know what? On rook h4 we can then answer with e5. But it gives white a chance to go wrong. So black isn't providing much resistance. So when you meet a player like this with this rating, they're going to make a lot of fundamental mistakes. You've got to make sure you don't make them. This all goes back to my lesson 1 of my program. Find out what you're doing wrong. And in this game, the key I see is a lack of development. h3 did not develop. Queen e2 or bring out the knight, both those moves developed. And then the opportunities will come up. Because white does nicely in a few moves once he gets his pieces going. Once your pieces are out, like I say, the second deployment can be deadly. So black doesn't see the idea to double the pawns, and but he does develop a piece, so we can't fault him for that. Okay, and there it is. The opportunity is up again. Black doesn't take advantage of it. Instead, he hopes that he can win a pawn on f4, but this just allows white to make an exchange. And now white gains a tempo. So now the usefulness of getting that knight developed comes in the forefront. It's getting deployed to another square with tempo. It's chasing the queen. Okay. So now white's got a wonderful game. He's a pawn ahead. He's ahead in development. White's castle, black hasn't. Black has to develop two pieces when one of them can't even move, the bishop on c8. So logic is now to develop the queen. That's the first candidate move that comes in my mind. But there's actually a better move, because the way black has played this opening is his first two moves. He created weaknesses around on his black squares, and now those weaknesses are still there, and he doesn't have a dark squared bishop to defend them anymore. White has a crushing positional move here, and the move is simply e5. This move just puts black in all kinds of trouble. What can black do here? This knight on d6, that's a potent square for a knight. It just cramps the black position. Black's going to have a hard time getting rid of that knight, if he ever can. It's going to take a lot of maneuvering to get rid of that knight. Black can't advance his d-pawn because, well, let's see, maybe he has to. The idea is then try and drive, well, no, it's not going to. You're going to try and drive this knight away and win this pawn, but I don't know. A4, B5 anyway, let's see. But White's got development here. He can just play the queen here, let him win the pawn back. Knight e5 with tempo, threatening double pawns. Take. Now this takes. Oops, look what's hanging. c6. See, black can't do this. Okay. So e5 was a positional crusher. How's black going to do this? Well, he castles kingside. Now he's admitted that his idea of sacrificing that pawn was no good. He's just playing a pawn down. White's still going to entrench this knight. Okay, let's get rid of it. How do we get rid of it? Well, we got to get a knight to e8 or to f5. And even on f5, it's not necessarily going to get rid of it. Or we can get a knight to b7. Let's try that. But white gets moves. d4. Now you can't play knight c5. See, I took that option away from you. Okay, so let's go there the roundabout way. Bishop here, and that's white's turn. Well, let's develop something. Now we're going to try and get the knight to c8. Well, let's develop something else. Okay. Hey, look, I'm challenging your knight. Hey, guess what? I'm challenging your king. And on a move like g6, it just seems to me like this move, knight takes f7, just destroys black. And this is the first time I saw this, but I don't know how black survives this. He's got to interpose his rook, otherwise it's gone. And I do believe that's checkmate. Wow. So I just found that line just by all I did. I just developed pieces. That's how I did it. I didn't do anything special. All I did was develop pieces, and I tried a plan. I said, let's get rid of that knight on d6, and I started playing for it. That's all I did. So the good moves are waiting to happen. So what white does, it's not a bad move, but I don't see how it helps white. That's the point. And we'll try to I'm not trying to criticize you or anything. I'm just trying to help you with your play. The knight goes to d4. It's a good square for the knight in that it's centralized, but where's it going? All the squares are covered. Can't go to b5. Can't go to f5. Maybe white's objective is to play f4 or f5. Okay, maybe that's what white's hoping for. Black doesn't have to chase the knight out. What if black just goes ahead and develops now? One way to develop is to go ahead and play d6. Try to put a stop on that e5 nonsense. Get the bishop to d7 and castle queenside, and then start thinking about a way to attack this king, because we do have a weak pawn over there. That pawn on h3 that white voluntarily pushed up could become a target. That's maybe black's best practical choice. But knight d4 doesn't really do much. So when you consider a move like that, ask yourself, what's my plan? Now I'm assuming the plan is to play f4 and f5. You can't sit there and hope that black will weaken himself. In other words, yeah, it's great if black plays e5 and attacks my knight, I get this wonderful outpost f5. Or if black plays c5 and attacks my knight, I get to chase his queen. Well, if he does it, if he does, what if he doesn't? What if he plays something good? This is how I used to play chess. I'd try to lure my opponent into making some kind of a bad move, and if they were a better player, they'd look at that and say, he wants me to go there. Well, let me think about that. Oh, I can't go there. He's got a nice move set. So, a lot of my ideas just didn't flat out work. But when you develop, you don't have to worry about your ideas working or not. They're going to work, as this last variation I showed, with the mate on e8. All I did was develop, and bang, there was a sacrifice busting open the black king side, and mate followed. Black didn't have to take the knight on g6, but what is the alternative? It's just down 2 pawns with a horrible game. Okay, so knight d4. What did black do here? I don't like the PGN here at chess.com. When you get into sidelines, it erases it. Wrong one. I have to go in there, bring it up. Okay, 1 second. Let me just replace it, and I can get the correct position and move order. Okay, I got to go forward now. Okay, let's see. So he missed e5, and now black doesn't play my recommendation. I was suggesting d6. He plays d5. and this just opens up the position in somewhat in White's favor, because now Black takes with the C pawn, which gives White that square for his knight, which he didn't have. And now White gives a check. Now those knights look a little iffy there. Say what you got to be prepared. Okay, it's true they're both guarded, but what happens if can't be done? But what happens if Black were able to get A6 in, removing the defender of D6? Now you say, oh well, I'm going to grab this bishop. Okay, but one thing to be careful of when you get into this is, suppose he did. You're thinking, well, I take his bishop, he takes that. What happens if he just leaves that knight down there, takes the other knight, and says, "Ha-ha, your knight can't get out." Oops, that doesn't happen. So you got to be careful about these possibilities when you get your knights extended down the board like that. White doesn't have to worry about it, but it's just something to make sure. It's just something to make sure it doesn't happen. But White starts gaining tempos on the queen, and the queen comes back. And here White puts a comment. Surely he sees it, and Black doesn't see it. There's a threat of mate, and Black falls right into it. It doesn't even see that there's a checkmate. Ouch! But what's happening here? Okay, Black clearly has to deal with the mate. How are we going to do it? We can't guard the pawn on F7 with our rook, with our bishop, or our knight. Well, knight E5 guards it. We're going to lose the piece. Basically, Black has to move his queen. He's either got to play. Oh, he only has one move. There's only one move to guard the pawn. Shut his own bishop in. Now, how does White proceed here? This is a good question to ask. How does White proceed here? Well, there's one drawback now that's kind of apparent, and that's the position of the knights. Okay, as I say, for instance, if knight takes, what if he takes this guy? Okay, now you come back and threaten mate. I guess the knight gets out, but it doesn't really have a lot of scope. Now we have time for this, and White's going to have to grind out an endgame win here. Okay, and the way I used to play chess when I was a beginner and first playing USCF rated chess, I'd win a pawn and I'd just happily trade any situation I could, figuring I'd win the ending. And that's how I did win the games. A lot of them, I would win them in the ending being a pawn up, or maybe I'd pick up another pawn or something better on the way. But White's victory is going to come in the ending instead of a potential in the middle game. And if you can win your games in the middle game, it's a good sign you're playing better chess. And then, like I say, key to the program, get your rating up. You'll play stronger players who you'll learn from. So you can handle these stronger players just by developing. These low-rated players just by developing. So because White didn't take advantage of some of the opportunities, he still has his work cut out for him. Okay, so you can take here if you want. Now, again, White's winning this, but he's going to have to grind this out. Okay, it's a long way off. It's a win, but it's a long way off. The alternative, if you don't trade the knight, is to bring the knight back to E3 or A3. Then you're going to get it back into play maybe by C2 and E3. But still, it's going to be a long maneuvering game. And meanwhile, Black is going to castle queenside and do his best to be a nuisance against the enemy king, although he's running out of firepower. But White will win this eventually with correct play, but it's going to be an endgame win. We want to win games quicker if we can, and you can, okay, if you develop your pieces, because then the opportunities will be there. You'll discover the tactical shots that exist, because they don't exist out of positions like this when you're just barely winning with a pawn advantage. The tactical opportunities don't come up here, but if you develop your pieces, you'd be surprised. Okay, very good game, very instructive. Plenty of room for improvement. If that's what we're trying to do. Don't worry about your strength if you're low or high. You can always get better, and you get better by analyzing. And I've given you some ideas how to analyze there. I hope this helps. Thanks so much for your time, and another video coming as soon as I can get to it. Take care. Thanks.